Phillip Schofield has hit back at claims of toxicity at This Morning after sensationally quitting the ITV show. In an Instagram post today, he said the programme is the best show to work on, with the best people and no toxicity. Schofield goes on to lash out at critics, writing it's the same handful of people with a grudge against him who seem to have the loudest voice. Former presenter Eamon Holmes took to Twitter, branding the statement delusional, calling him a liar and warning him not to look for a fight. Schofield resigned after admitting his affair with a much younger male staffer who has remained anonymous, calling it unwise but not illegal. He also apologised for lying repeatedly to colleagues to hide the relationship. This Morning finally addressed the crisis earlier today.
We all know we happen to be in the news at the moment, and of course we appreciate that. But just from both of us and the whole team here, the crew, the guys downstairs, we love making this show for all of you.
Yeah, we really do. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to continue to do that. So let's go on with our first news story. Giles.
We are very happy to be here. Can I say that as well?
Yeah, of course.
This is a happy place to work.
It comes as This Morning hemorrhages audiences, guests and advertisers. ITV bosses are scrambling to keep their jewel in the crown afloat after the show's main sponsor, car dealer Arnold Clark, announced they would not be renewing their mega money deal. It's feared the broadcaster's share price could plummet when markets reopen tomorrow morning. Wow, it really has dominated the news for the past few weeks, and particularly this weekend. Full disclosure, I was a contributor on This Morning for 2 years, and my experience, which is the only experience I can speak from, was that I had a lovely time, and it was a lovely kind of family environment. I really, really enjoyed that. That's a clip of me there. Being on it.
Wow.
I've changed a lot, I know, my hair has grown.
Changed. Much worse now.
Thank you, Uncle Kevin, thank you very much. But yeah, so my experience there was really great, but I think, how dare you?
Who's that idiot?
Hush now, Uncle Kev. But it's worth saying that I think whenever somebody speaks about their experience in a particular workplace, that is their experience alone. We can't possibly know what they have gone through. But I think it's very rich of somebody like Phillip Schofield to be the one to come out and say, actually, there's no toxicity in this environment. Well, look at what you have just admitted to, Phillip. This is like a very long-running affair that you've had with a junior that you should have been, you know, having no inappropriate relationship with whatsoever. And look at the position that he's put his colleagues in, who, whether anyone believes it or not, say that they did not know and were not aware that was going on.
Well, you got Dr. Ranj Singh came in yesterday, wasn't it, to say that he was there for 10 years and it was always toxic, to the extent that he went to the bosses and said, Phillip is creating this terribly toxic atmosphere. He was dispensed with and never appeared on the show again. And this is the problem. Now, as you quite rightly say, Nicola, we have to be careful because, you know, we don't know the actual truth of it, but what is being alleged is that this was a very toxic show. Dr. Ranj is not the only former staff member to say so. Eamon Holmes will confirm it. And it all revolved around Phillip. And I'm afraid for him to come out today and say there was no toxicity is not only absurd, it's kind of worrying about where
his judgment,
where is his state of mind at the moment.
It's once again a catastrophic misjudgment for him to make an intervention like that. Only fuels the fire, doesn't it? I thought that moment that we just saw a clip of this morning where they were saying, oh, it's all, you know we're in the news a little bit, but hey, guys, it's a really happy place.
Everything's great.
I mean, that was so cheesy. It didn't work. I think a nation cringed at that point. I think to your point about your experience, I don't know how many were you on every day or whatever.
No, literally just once a week. I did one sort of 15-minute segment a week.
I think that one's experience as a contributor is probably quite different to if your whole livelihood depends on it and you are in there all day and every day and you're very immersed in the office politics, as it were. I've done very little for This Morning. I've popped up a couple of times over the years. But I had heard rumours probably 6 months ago that things were very, very bad indeed from somebody very well placed between Holly and Phil. And this was a long time ago, and that there were bigger things going on. So I suspect there's a lot more is going to come out.
No, I agree.
Story's not over. You're absolutely right.
I've been talking about it for the last 3 days. I've done breakfast for the last 3 days. I mean, this is a catastrophe, I think, for ITV. Many insiders, and to reiterate your point, many insiders are delighted that sunlight is being shone on the practices at ITV. Also, Dr. Ranj, obviously, I know very well, talking about this culture of toxicity. Those are very strong words indeed from a medical professional. He obviously deals a lot with mental health. So that's interesting. I think there's one really big thing. We have to be very careful what we say. We don't know all the facts. Obviously, Kev has made that point. What we do need to ask, though, is what did ITV know and when did they know it? And there are lots of things going on here under the surface. So, you know, one particular journalist said they reported this in 2019. ITV then says, well, actually, we knew about it in 2020. We had a full investigation. They didn't talk to the young man who was involved in that. So clearly not a very full investigation. That is all coming out. The question is, who actually knew what in that hierarchy at ITV? And what did they do about it?
So here's the thing. I've never worked on This Morning, never had any dealings with them whatsoever.
I know what you're gonna say.
But just as a journalist, we've known for a few years that things have been going on that show, alleged things, rumours of things happening. There's no chance in hell, I'll go on record as saying this, no chance in hell, anyone who works on that show, if I'm finding out about it and I don't work there, how are you not knowing it when you're there every single day? It's not just Phillip Schofield. People who enabled him, and I say Holly enabled him because she sits next to him on the sofa and she says, he's my best friend, I'm so proud of him. So everyone who has enabled his behaviour and allowed him to be rude to people or do whatever else have allowed that toxicity. And that goes up to the producers that have raised it as well.
But here's the difficult thing as an employer. If there is an inappropriate relationship going on between someone in a position of power like that and someone much more junior, and the person in a position of power lies about it, as Phillip Schofield has admitted that he did repeatedly, what are you then, as an employer, to do? If you've got how do you prove what's going on behind closed doors?
And they spoke to...
That's their defence.
Look at the nature of these investigations. I mean, what kind of investigations are completely folded up the moment the suspect at the centre of them says, no, it's not true. Right, no more investigation then. They've talked of at least 4 investigations which were shut up shop very, very quickly. So as JJ and we were talking about this earlier, sort of old showbiz hacks, we knew about this. So many people who don't work at This Morning knew about this affair. So how come that those of us who didn't work there knew about it, but people who did work there didn't know about it.
And just following on from your point, which is a really valid one, but also Eamon Holmes came out fighting. I was on air this morning and Eamon Holmes came out fighting, saying, you know, that he was absolutely livid to be drawn into this. Obviously, Phillip came out openly on air. The question is, what was going on behind the scenes here? Also, then Phillip then responded whilst I was on air. Again, you know, this is almost like open warfare that is now going on.
If you look at the way that if you look at the way that Phillip spoke to Eamon, we're presuming he's sort of saying that his Instagram story was about Eamon. These are the same people who have a grudge against me. You can imagine that might have been the way that he might have responded to bosses when he was questioned about a relationship. Well, these people have got a grudge against me. It's not my fault. You know, nothing's going on. He's very good at seemingly to deflect.
I think this goes right to the top. If you look at the share price already, it has gone down nearly 60% since that boss took over. So it's 2018, I think she took over. And the share price has basically been tanking, and that was before all of this.
And that's right. And this is the thing I've been saying all day. So the market's open tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
The shareholders are not going to be
the question is then, what does it do for ITV's brand? So in terms of advertising revenue, the share price, people will be watching that for many, many reasons. And of course, people will be speculating. And the question is really, what is the future for ITV? And I was asking the question this morning, does this mean the end of This Morning? Or is this a bigger issue for the brand of ITV? I actually think that ITV's in trouble.
I think it'll be a real... It's the brand This Morning. I know obviously you're going to go, well, you worked on it, blah, blah, blah. But that was a while ago. It means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
For people who are at home, for people who are retired or perhaps unemployed or mums looking after kids, it means a lot to sit down and feel like you have that familiarity of those characters. And I think what Dermot and Alison do and hopefully will continue to do, is be that familiar face to people.
I don't think Holly can last, because every time you look at her, you think Phil Schofield. So she's tainted by association. And I really do think they have to think about the future of this brand altogether. It is the most toxic thing on telly. Advertisers ditching it, sponsors ditching it, the viewers ditching it in their hundreds of thousands. I think the story's over, I really do. And by the way, just before we move on, make no mistake, right now, all these stories you're hearing from these people, oh, I didn't know anything about it, oh, we asked him, but he said no. They're all lying. They're still lying. It's obvious.